The zoo was alive with the usual chaos, children shrieking, strollers rattling, the air thick with sunscreen and popcorn. But in the gorilla enclosure, Amara sat motionless, tucked into the farthest corner, her massive frame curled inward, her gaze fixed on the concrete floor. She hadn't eaten in days, hadn't responded to the keeper's calls or the other gorilla's nudges. For weeks she'd been a shadow of herself, and most visitors barely noticed, their eyes skimming over her stillness before moving on. Except for one. A boy, maybe 7, drifted from the chattering school group and stopped at the glass. He didn't tap or wave like the others. He just stood, quiet, his small hand resting gently against the pane. And that's when Amara moved. 3 months earlier, Amara's world had shattered. Her infant, born fragile, stopped breathing in the night. Her anguished cries had echoed through the enclosure, her arms clutching the lifeless body she refused to release. The keepers eventually intervened, but something in Amara broke. She stopped howling, stopped eating, stopped everything. "She hasn't been the same since she lost the baby," a keeper murmured, watching her now from behind the railing. "I think she's giving up." Today the enclosure buzzed with a school field trip. Children pressed against the glass, their voices a jarring hum. Most glanced at Amara's stillness and moved on, disappointed. But the boy, Milo, lingered. His calmness stood out, as if drawn by something unspoken. He pressed his palm to the glass, his eyes steady. Amara's head lifted. It was subtle at first, a twitch of her fingers, a tilt of her massive skull. Then her gaze locked onto Milo's, her dull eyes sharpened, nostrils flaring. The crowd hushed. Slowly, deliberately, she rose, her heavy steps reverberating as she crossed the enclosure. Parents stepped back, a few gasped, but Milo didn't flinch. She stopped inches from the glass, her breath fogging the surface. Then, with aching precision, she raised her hand and pressed it against the pane, palm to palm with Milo's. The moment hung in the air, heavy with meaning. A keeper's radio crackled. "Amara's at the glass, first interaction in 31 days. Headkeeper Dana arrived, her boots clicking on the path. She froze at the sight. "She hasn't done this since the baby," she whispered. Amara's posture wasn't just alert. It was focused, almost tender. Dana's eyes narrowed, studying Milo. Something about him felt familiar, but she couldn't place it. Amara didn't move. Her hand stayed pressed against the glass, her eyes fixed on the boy. Milo mirrored her, his small palm steady, his gaze unwavering. The crowd swelled, phones flashing, but Amara saw only him. A woman, Helen, Milo's mother, edged closer. "Milo, sweetheart, come on," she said softly, but he didn't budge. Dana stepped forward, her radio still buzzing with updates. She watched Amara's free hand rise, fingers curling and uncurling in stiff, deliberate motions. Dana's breath caught. It wasn't random, it was signing. Years ago, Amara had been taught basic signs as part of an experimental bonding program. The movements were unpracticed but unmistakable, the shape of friend, repeated slowly, as if testing the word. "Milo," Dana said, kneeling beside him. "Has your family been here before?" He shook his head, curious but unsure. Helen hesitated. "When he was little, maybe. I was in a tough spot back then. Someone suggested a zoo program for emotional support. Milo loved it, but I didn't think it mattered much." Dana's pulse quickened. She excused herself and hurried to the staff office, tearing through old files. She found it in a dusty logbook. Mother, Helen Matthews. Son, Milo Matthews. Weekly visits, 4 months. Discontinued after infant loss. A faded photo showed a toddler in a red hoodie, hand pressed to the glass. Amara's pregnant form towering on the other side. It was Milo, younger but unmistakable. The program had been short-lived, pairing parents and young children with pregnant gorillas to study emotional connectivity. Amara had responded to Milo more than anyone, her gaze softening at his quiet presence, his scent, his high-pitched giggles, his gentle taps on the glass. They'd imprinted on her during those vulnerable months. Back at the enclosure, Amara sat close to the glass, her hand still touching Milo's. She tapped the pane, 3 slow beats, a pause, then 2. Milo blinked, then mirrored the rhythm. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap. Amara exhaled, a low rumble no one had heard in months. It was their game, a memory from years ago. Dana, returning with the photo, watched in awe. "It's their pattern," she whispered. She'd mimic his taps before she gave birth. Milo studied the photo Dana showed him. "That's me?" he asked, voice soft. He didn't remember, but something in Amara did. She shifted, lowering herself closer to the ground, her massive arms curving inward as if cradling something invisible. Her body swayed gently, side to side, like rocking a child. Milo's eyes flickered with understanding. "She's pretending I'm her baby," he said quietly. Helen knelt beside him, her hand hovering near his shoulder. "Sweetheart," she began, but Milo spoke first. "It's okay, Amara," he said. "I'm here now." Amara's swaying slowed. She rested her head on her arm, still facing him, and for the first time in months, her eyes closed in peace. The moment lingered as morning turned to midday. Milo sat cross-legged by the glass. Amara nestled close on the other side. The crowd thinned, their initial curiosity giving way to quiet reverence. A few onlookers wiped their eyes, others stood in silence, sensing something profound. Keepers cordoned off the area, their radios hushed. Dana watched, her heart heavy with questions. Amara's vital signs were stable, her appetite returning. But what happened when Milo left? She noticed Amara gathering leaves in a tattered cloth, arranging them carefully near the glass. "She's nesting," Dana murmured. "She thinks he's hers." Milo reached into his backpack and pulled out a frayed stuffed elephant, its ear half torn. He pressed it to the glass. Amara froze, then mirrored the gesture, her palm resting over the toy's reflection. She draped her cloth over the spot, like tucking it in. Helen, watching from a nearby bench, pressed a hand to her mouth. Dana approached her. "Helen, do you remember why you stopped coming?" Helen's eyes dropped. "Milo's father died. I couldn't face anything, including this place. Milo was so young, but he loved her. He called her Big Mama." She paused. She calmed him when nothing else could. The staff debated late into the night. Was this healthy? Dangerous? What if Amara fixated on Milo, or regressed when he stopped visiting? Dana pushed back. "She's healing. He's the key." They devised a plan, monitored weekly visits, for both Amara's and Milo's sake. Since reconnecting, Milo was sleeping better, eating more, his quiet spark returning. Helen noticed it too, a lightness she hadn't seen since those early zoo days. The next week, Milo returned. Amara was already at the glass, her eyes bright. He held up a drawing. Amara cradling a baby gorilla, a boy beside her. She grunted softly, then pressed her forehead to the glass. Milo did the same, their silhouettes aligned. The moment, captured by a visitor's phone, spread online. A gorilla, a boy, a reunion after years apart. Millions watched, some calling it proof of animal memory, others dismissing it as projection. But those who were there knew it was real. Weeks later, the zoo introduced an orphaned baby gorilla, wobbly and wide-eyed. The staff held their breath as Amara approached, slow and sure. She sat, and the infant pressed against her leg. Amara's arms enveloped the tiny form, her touch tender but certain. Outside, Milo watched, his eyes glistening. He didn't tap the glass this time. "You don't have to miss me anymore," he whispered. Amara's visits with Milo continued, carefully supervised. She greeted him with gentle grunts, her grief no longer a weight, but a bridge. Milo began drawing her, sketches of Amara with her new infant, with him, with the world beyond the glass. Dana taped them in the staff office, each one a testament to closure for both of them. One quiet afternoon, Milo shared a final drawing. Amara standing strong, holding hands with a smaller gorilla. He looked at Dana. "She's okay now, isn't she?" Dana nodded. "So are you." Amara's story spread, a reminder that grief and love know no boundaries, not species, not silence, not time. In her enclosure, she waited by the glass each week, her new infant by her side, her eyes lifting at Milo's approach. And in those moments, the world felt a little less broken. What would you do if an animal remembered you after all those years? Some bonds, it seems, are stronger than memory itself.